Well, I'm Daniel Naroditsky. I'm a 22-year-old grandmaster, born and raised and living in the Bay Area. I think my 4th year teaching at Castle.
When did you start playing chess?
I started about 6.5. Just completely coincidental. I think my brother taught me at some birthday party. And at first it was just another thing that we did. Like, my brother and I are he's 4 years older than me, but we played like Lego and Monopoly, and chess is one of those things. And then chess became like one of two things. It was like chess or Monopoly, and then it was just chess.
Just chess.
And, I didn't have a single day where I fell in love with it. It was more of a gradual process, but I quickly realized that I didn't want to do anything else, but I did want to do chess. So.
How much time do you spend on chess per day?
It very time dependent. I mean, nowadays I'm in college, so very little. I mean, I try to keep in shape, and if I can get 15, 20 minutes of tactics or look at a couple tournament games or a couple blitz games, I'm happy. In my, youth, it's weird saying that, but during my gap year and less so in high school, but I would spend, 5-6 hours a day. I basically played chess professionally for a year. And when I was in high school, I would not spend a ton. I'd spend an hour or two, time permitting, but I would always try to be consistent. And I think that's been, one of the keys is consistency.
I want to make films, but sometimes it can get really hard just to keep the passion and energy up for it. So how do you kind of deal with that?
Well, I think winning never gets old. It doesn't matter who you beat, how you win. Winning is a very intoxicating feeling.
Yeah.
And it does get old. I mean, I'd be lying if I were to say it doesn't, especially in the tough days when you're not playing well. But your faith in the fact that this is basically the only thing that you're good at, that's kept me going. It's fun to train and play at something that, you can do pretty darn well by human standards, and it's kept me going.
How does it feel to have a lot of young people look up to you? Do you feel responsibility to be like, I'm that guy? Or
once I did, but I always try to learn from everyone, and I think I'm very humbled that kids at camp and a lot of young players look up to me, and it's it fills me with energy. I don't feel it like a burden. I just try to live and do chess in a way that's true to myself.
Right.
And I think the key for me has always been, it's a two-way process. I come to these camps, and I like coaching because not only are my students and the people I'm working with learning from me, but I'm also learning a lot from them. And I don't just kind of say it, I really try to squeeze as many benefits for myself. So I guess I have a selfish motivation there as well. And I really like that two-way process that goes on.
Right. Who did you look up to when you were younger?
That's a great question. I definitely, my brother is also chess, about 2100, and for a time we were both playing in tournaments, and I would borrow a lot of training techniques from him, and he taught me a lot about, because chess players aren't properly socialized, so there's always a phase where you realize that there's a life that needs to be lived off of the board, and my chess coaches, especially Lev Psahis, who's a grandmaster from the Soviet Union, now lives in Israel, was my coach for 5 years, and he was also my life mentor, and he taught me. I mean, he made me into a pessimist, but I think he also was largely responsible for what meager maturity I was able to develop, and so a lot of my chess coaches played a big role.
What's the one thing about the game of chess that's helped you in just growing up
I think, there's two sides to this. I think the whole cognitive aspect is largely overrated. I don't think chess has made me better math or smarter in some noticeable way. I think that's pretty obvious. But I think what it definitely has done is, in terms of resilience, and there's this whole cliche thing about not giving up, but I think in chess it really means something, because you have to learn how to lose, and you have no choice, because if you play chess seriously, you lose a lot of games. No matter what your rating is, who you are, what your title is, and losing is uniformly just as painful every time, and it's just like winning. And I think that chess has largely taught me that life isn't necessarily on your side, and you need to my coach actually told me once something that sounds dark, but I think is very profound. He's like, if things are going well, you need to be very cautious, because that's a sign that something's going to happen. You're going to lose a game here or there, and I think chess always teaches you to not really take anything for granted. And if you blunder, and God knows you can make a lot of blunders in life. It's a lot easier to blunder a proverbial piece in life than it is in chess. But chess teaches you that the game goes on. And really, even if it seems that it doesn't, it really does. And it served me well in my toughest classes in college and tough personal times. So I think the emotional component, strange as that may seem, is the real weight of what I think chess can bring to a person's life outside of the board.
If you could change anything about chess, would you change it?
Well, a pipe dream would be that chess would be more appreciated in the public eye. And
what do you think hinders that?
Well, I think that people don't realize that chess can consume someone's life. I think that's the bottom line. It's not that there's a fundamental disrespect for the game or something like that. I just think that when you look at the NBA, which I'm a great fan, but it's obvious that this league and this game consumes someone's life, and no questions asked. You do your thing. With chess, you look at a 64 square board when people hunched over it, and it's not immediately obvious what it is about this game that consumes people's life and that demands the same respect as any other sport or any other intellectual endeavor. And I think if people were to realize that, and realize that a person can dedicate his life to chess, and that's not, by far not an unworthy pursuit whatsoever, I think from that place can stem more appreciation for the game itself. And if chess can become a spectator sport, which is unlikely, but I think perhaps on the cards, I think there's a pretty bright future.
Do you think the media has a lot to do with that, just getting coverage?
Absolutely. Yeah. The media is the vehicle through which it happens, and
right.
I think that's where it can start, and I think that's where it has already started.
How much media is there on the international stage? Quite a bit?
Mm-hmm. The top tournaments are covered live, and there's sometimes tens of thousands of viewers online. The games are commented live, and you see streams of the players. And it's, if you're a chess fan and you're involved, I'll wake up at 5 a.m. to watch a top tournament in Europe. Right. And I won't wake up at 5 a.m. for anything else, including exams or anything. Right. But this will do it to me. So it gets coverage, but not enough, and there needs to be more televised coverage. And if it gets on ESPN, the road is wide open, and there's so many steps. But we'll see.
If you could describe the game in one word, what word would you give it?
I'd say reality. You can't fool a game of chess. You're always punished for your mistakes, and I do think it's a good microcosm of life. It's just teaches you to toughen up, to do your own thing, which is really, I think, in today's world is a highly underestimated thing.
Cool. Do you feel fulfilled creatively when you play chess? And how does that work?
I do think it's an art. I think the joy from creating a beautiful combination, finding an idea, is unparalleled to me. And other people in other endeavors describe it. And Steph Curry makes a 30-footer. I think it's largely the same effect. When let me pull some cliche out of my hat. Federer makes a great sitter. Picasso paints, whatever Picasso paints. This is embarrassing. I'm a painting, but all of these endeavors, it's the same effect. I think you're creating. You have a license to create on your own, to carve out your own path, and I think it's beautiful.